window painting. Crazy Larry's doing cocaine in the kitchen anyway. While Larry's living, doing lines in the kitchen. Renee's relaxing, ready for action, reading science fiction. Now all that you're incorporating, and you're getting off and you're masturbating. And maybe a girly magazine which other people call obscene, but who's to say exactly what that means? I'm saying Jane is scratching at my window pane. Crazy Larry's doing cocaine in the kitchen anyway. While Larry is living, doing lines in the kitchen. Renee's relaxing, ready for action, reading science fiction. Megan's got a Beamer, she goes 60 down Wolf Parkway. Even Megan's sister knows it's better to stay the hell out of her way. Now your friends say you ain't got no class, 'cause you're sticking freaked out gerbils up your ass. Honey, I ain't gonna make it stop, 'cause it just ain't my business what gets you off now. Insane Jane is scratching at my window pane. Crazy Larry's doing cocaine in the kitchen anyway. While Larry is living, doing lines in the kitchen. Renee's relaxing, ready for action, reading science fiction. Megan's got a Beamer, she goes 60 down Wolf Parkway. She's a bitch, and even her sister knows that it's better to stay the hell out of her way. Now what's their next crazy twist? They're gonna tell me when I can or cannot piss. Well honey, I shake my fist, and if you can't handle that, then censor this. 'Cause insane Jane is scratching at my window pane. Crazy Larry's doing cocaine in the kitchen anyway. While Larry's living, doing lines in the kitchen. Renee's relaxing, ready for action, reading science fiction.
There we go. So, there's a few articles that I pulled up for today that I probably won't go over because everybody should already know about them. I wanted to show like how they presented to me, but they're already gone. So, I took notes on those ones. But this first one from from NBC News about Venezuela that we could talk about. So if you don't know, like the well, I don't know how you wouldn't know unless you're living under a rock. Trump has been bombing fishing boats off of Venezuela, and they're getting really pissed off about it, actually. And so it's actually a war crime. They're saying that they're drug boats, but there's no evidence that there's drug boats, and actually there's evidence to the contrary, that there is actual evidence that they are just fishing boats. Like even one of the guys who died in one of the boats, his wife came forward and said he's just a fisherman. So we have evidence of the contrary, that they're just fishing boats. We do not have evidence that they were drug boats of any kind. And Venezuela is not where heroin and fentanyl apparently is manufactured. So I think cocaine comes from there, but I don't know. I don't really care. I don't have an issue with drugs. I don't have an issue with people who use drugs. So members of Congress growing concerned over lack of information from an administration about Venezuela strikes, sources say. Okay, I won't. This is. I don't know. We'll see. Washington members of Congress are growing concerned over a lack of information from the Trump administration about the intelligence and strategy underlying its strikes on alleged drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean, 6 sources told NBC News. Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill have left briefings about the strikes, frustrated with lack of information. Said these people have 5 congressional sources and an additional source with knowledge of the matter. Some have asked for unedited video of the strikes reflecting the kind of basic information they seek, but the administration has so far refused to prove it. At a briefing a few weeks ago, Republican lawmakers were clearly upset with the answers they received. One of the congressional sources. The Republicans were mad that the briefers were unable to answer the questions about the legal basis for the operations. Some members of Congress, including the Republicans who broadly support the attacks and the administration generally, are also concerned about the level of precision of the intelligence used to determine targets and possibility that an American citizen could be killed in the operation, several of the sources said. The Defense Department spokesperson said members are being fully informed, and last week most GOP senators voted to defeat measures that would have required congressional approval before more attacks were launched. Apparently there's videos of these attacks out there. Apparently they're pretty grisly and gruesome. We shouldn't be doing this. It's a war crime. It's fucked up. I cannot believe the United States is dead. This is not behavior the United States does. Some people, if it's, some people think it's a false flag attack, that they're trying to install like a sock puppet government. If that's the case, that is pretty American. That's pretty. The United States has done lots of those in the past. Lawmakers are also asking the administration to explain who was killed in the strikes, how they were positively identified as legitimate targets for lethal force, what intelligence indicted that they had possible links to drug trafficking gangs, and what information showed they were heading to the United States with drugs. And the problem is there is none. In fact, we have evidence to the contrary, like I said. They also asked whether the administration has weighed the potential response from trafficking groups, including the possibility of retaliation inside the United States. I think that's what they want. I think they want Venezuela to retaliate so that they have an excuse to try to launch this phony war. But the thing that I think is messed up is that Venezuela is part of BRICS. That's why they have Russian fighter jets. So if we pick a fight with Venezuela, we're picking a fight with Brazil, North Korea, India, China, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and a whole lot of countries. It's not a good idea. It's a really stupid idea, and innocent civilians from Venezuela are being killed for this stunt. And that's disgusting. It's bullshit, and I want them to stop. Since September, and also, like, why are we trying to inject ourselves into another war? I'm like we just, like, I know it wasn't a good job, but Biden pulled us out of, like, the Middle East war, and Trump is picking a fight trying to start another one. I don't know. Since September 2nd, President Trump has ordered at least 5 military strikes in the Caribbean on boats. His administration says removing illicit drugs from Venezuela to the United States. Officials say 27 people have been killed in the attacks, and the most recent of which Trump announced Tuesday. These are innocent people being killed because this regime is insane. Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth posted short, grainy video clips of the strikes on social media. The clips include multiple edits contributing to questions in Congress about whether the targets are definitely the drug smuggling boats. The administration has said they are, and about the circumstances and locations of the operations. Raw unedited video could help reassure lawmakers about the origin of the vessels being targeted, as well as provide more context for them to better understand the circumstances under which the vessels are targeted or even where the strikes are occurring. After the first strike, Trump said the boat the United States destroyed was linked to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Agua. How do you know that from just looking at a boat? How do you just look at a fishing boat? Hey, how's it going, Jim? Let's see you. That's not possible. There's no way you can tell just looking at a grainy satellite photo of a fishing boat from Venezuela that is Tren de Agua. There's no way you know that it has drugs on it. Like, this is the problem. There's no evidence of it, and he's just attacking random fishing boats that are from another country and killing innocent civilians, and we're in hell. After the first strike, Trump said the boat the United States destroyed. Oh yeah, okay, we already did that. Yeah, White House. Yeah, to provide evidence to back up the claim. Drugs were found in the water after one strike. An official from the Dominican Republic said at a news conference last month, that's not true. The guy from Dominican Republic was saying that Trump was committing war crimes and needed to be held accountable. He didn't. I'm not aware of this. I would like to see proof of that. Maybe it's true. I don't think it's true. And again, I don't have a problem with drugs coming into the country. I don't have an issue with drugs. I think people, if they're a grown adult and they're making informed consent decisions of their body and or exercising right to their bodily autonomy. If somebody's a grown adult, I think they can choose to do drugs if they so want. I don't have an issue with this. At a news conference last month, the United States has not revealed evidence that drugs were on all the boats. Asked about the lawmakers' request for more information, and video chief Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell said administration officials have kept Congress fully informed about the strikes and legal authorities involved. That's not true either. That's why they're doing this. That's why they're saying, like, hey, you need to talk to Congress. Your strikes are not legal. Congress didn't legally authorize them. They're illegal strikes, and this article is sitting here saying, oh, well, we kept everybody. Just no, you haven't. No, you haven't. Is MSNBC compromised news source now too? Yeah, that reminds me. For anyone watching, if they're not going to see the live comments. So Jim says, no shit, they don't fly a flag that says we're smuggling dope. But that reminds me of a conversation, like, I was hanging out with a punk friend of mine, Gina, and there was this cop dude that wanted to date me, and he was trying to tell us, like, he was a good cop, and blah, 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 blah. We're like, well, really know what a good cop is, but he was saying, I just don't understand why people just can't be honest, if I pull you over and ask if there's drugs in your car. And Gina and I just started laughing, and Gina, like, she was very smart and witty. She was just like, well, I said, when you get pulled over and a cop asks you if drugs in the car, you're gonna lie through your teeth and hope you get away with it. And Gina said remarks like, yeah, we're not gonna get pulled over and ask if we have drugs in the car and just be like, yes, officer, lots. Like, who does that? No one. And you would be surprised all the ports of entry and how drugs get into America. There's no way you're going to stop it. And the amount of money that drug cartels have, if they pulled all their money out of the United States, our economy would literally collapse. That's how much money they have. in United States assets and currency, is if they pulled all of it out, it would literally just collapse our economy overnight. It would just crumble. We're a country of drug users, and I started paying more and more attention to like Trump, and he keeps talking about the crime in Chicago, the crime. And the thing is, it goes back to my thinking on this is this weird utopian society that they're trying to achieve, where there is no crime, there is no drug use, no one has sex out of wedlock, no one cheats on their spouse. I mean, it's a world that has never, ever, 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 ever throughout human time, anywhere on the globe, any culture, anywhere at any point in time has ever achieved. There's always theft, there's always rapes, there's always murders, there's always cheating, there's always drug use. There's no such thing as a clean, sober society that's purely puritanical and only has sex when they're married and only has sex to reproduce. Such a society has never, ever, 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 ever existed. So if he can sit there and look at a crime rate as low as what occurs in Chicago and go, oh, it's just riddled with crime, then the question becomes, and this is an issue that I've seen in the CDC too, and considering what is an epidemic, and they say as long as one person is smoking a cigarette, it's an epidemic, and they're like, so that, I mean, that's fantastic. So as long as you can find one example of one teen smoking a cigarette, it's an epidemic. And I think that's kind of what Trump is doing with crime. It's just like, as long as there is one criminal, the crime is out of control. It's crazy. Because as long as you're trying to achieve this crimeless, puritanical, everyone sober, clean society, you're always going to have a problem, because it can never truly be achieved. You're always going to find at least one, and if not more. And even if Trump is successful in keeping all the drugs out of the country, you know what people are going to resort to? They're going to resort to fermenting their own waste and creating jankum, and just doing that. I mean, people will do a lot of stuff to try to get fucked up. So this just seems... The war on drugs is just, we're just kidding ourselves. I mean, it's, people like to get fucked up, people like to get high, they like to get intoxicated. I don't know if it's ever going to change. And same with sex. You're not going to stop people from having sex. You're not going to stop people from having sex out of wedlock. You're not going to stop people from being adulterous. You're not going to stop people. It's just human beings, man. Get over it and stop worrying about it, and stop being so judgmental, and stop being a prick. Yeah, jankum. Yeah, it's what we're all gonna have to resort to, because they want to keep the drug cartels from giving us real drugs. They call it the Department of War. The Department of Defense has given numerous briefs and notifications to Congress that have extensive details of the policy operations tactical intelligence and authorities invoked. Purnell said in blah blah blah. I get the impression Purnell is an ass kiss for Trump because he calls it the Department of War. It's not the Department of War. It's the Department of Defense. You can't just change it. That has to be approved by Congress. Purnell in the White House did not directly address why the administration so far has not provided lawmakers with access to unedited video of the attacks. Oh, so the videos are edited too. Fantastic. A White House official told the Department of War, the Department of Defense, is working through additional requests for information from the Hill. The administration has provided 6 classified briefings to relevant congressional committees and lawmakers over the past month, Pentagon and White House officials have said. Although no one on the congressional side disputes that there have been briefings by Pentagon officials, members from both parties have come away from them dissatisfied and frustrated at the vague nature of the information that was shared. NBC News has reported that the United States has been preparing options for strikes inside Venezuela's borders. Great, we're gonna piss off BRICS. We're gonna piss them off. They're gonna strike inside Venezuelan borders, a country that has done absolutely nothing at all, killing who knows how many innocent civilians, breaking international treaties and laws, war crimes. Many lawmakers fear that extending the bombing to targets on land would pose a significant risk to civilian casualties. No shit. 2 of the congressional sources and source with knowledge of the matter said targeting a vessel on the open seas is one thing they believe, but striking a location on land brings more perils, including the possibility of inadvertent civilian deaths. There's already been civilian deaths because of the boats. Can somebody please remove Trump from office and remove the whole regime? Trump, Hegseth, Kash Patel, Russell Vogt, that bald guy, I don't remember what his name is, Stephen Miller, and the VP, just get them all out of there. They're causing so many problems. They're destroying this country really, really bad. Some members of Congress also believe the strikes are illegal. No shit. Yeah, they are illegal. They've been done without congressional approval. That's illegal. Others have concerns about their legality. The administration provided a letter to Congress in which it said Trump has determined that the United States is now engaged in an armed conflict with drug trafficking organizations and that it views members of those groups as armed combatants. Using the same legal rationale the government has previously used to go after Al-Qaeda, the Islamic State, and other terrorist groups. After the first classified briefing by Pentagon officials, which they felt was lacking, multiple lawmakers asked the administration to give access to unedited videos of the strikes to members of Congress who would view the video only behind closed doors. The sources said members believe the raw video could help answer some of their questions. So far, though, the administration has not agreed to the request. They're not they're so Congress went to MAGA and said, "Can we see the unedited raw videos?" And the MAGA Congress people said, "Nope, no, we don't want you to see those. Even if it's behind closed doors, no, not even if it's behind closed doors, nope. That's not suspicious. That doesn't scream guilty at all." And they're edited. The videos that have they've released. They're edited. That's fantastic. During previous administration, Pentagon and intelligence officials in some cases provided lawmakers with classified, non-public videos and photos of specific counterterrorism operations, although Republicans have privately voiced concerns about the lack of information and clarity about the strikes. Last week, all but 2 GOP senators joined in voting down a resolution that would have required the Trump administration to seek congressional approval before it launched more attacks. That's already in the Constitution. He's not supposed to do that without congressional approval, but whatever. Not that Trump cares about that. It's quite obvious he doesn't care about the Constitution. He wipes his ass on it every day. The resolution went down to defeat in a 51-48 vote. 2 Republicans, Paul Rand and Kentucky and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska joined almost all Democrats in voting in favor. John Fetterman in Pennsylvania, blah, blah, blah. Paul said that he believes the strikes have no legal foundation and that the administration needs to provide evidence to justify the lethal bombing raids. Agreed. Is it too much to ask to know the names of those we kill before we kill them, to know what evidence exists of their guilt? And yeah, that goes back to due process, but it's pretty obvious Trump doesn't care about due process either, because he's, ICE is rounding people up and not giving them due process. No innocent until proven guilty. It's just guilt presumed over innocence, and yeah. Senator Todd Young, Republican, Indiana, voted against the resolution, but said afterward that he was still highly concerned about the legality of the strikes, as well as the deployment of U.S. warships and other resources to the Caribbean that could be needed to counter China in the Pacific. The administration should adhere to the Constitution and keep the people's representatives informed on this critical national security issue. More than 20 Democrats in Congress wrote a letter to the administration last month posing a list of questions about the recent strikes and asking for a copy of legal assessments of the attacks by federal agencies. The administration has yet to respond to the letter, according to the spokesperson for Senator Tim Kaine. So this is just going to go through all the senators, and let's see what this person said. Slotkin replied that we couldn't get in a closed session, and this person says, I was a CIA officer and helped with targeting. I have no problem with going after these cartels, she added. I have no problem designating terrorist organizations in general, but we've never had an instance where there's a secret list of what I understand to be dozens of new terrorist organizations that the American public and certainly the Oversight Committee don't get to know. Can we know what our targets are? No, it's a secret. Who are we targeting next? It's a secret. Just bomb this person. Who are they? It's a secret. Everything's a secret. Yay! So, this one doesn't surprise me. So this one, how it was posted. Trump administration revoked 6 visas over comments about Charlie Kirk. I'm not shocked about this. We've already been doing this. Like, there have been people who've come over here from other countries, and if they have memes or posted things on social media that are critical of Trump or anyone in his administration, etc., etc., they don't get in. So this doesn't shock me. They've already been doing this for some time. So then there was this one, a Politico. All these the articles for this are in the description. So if you want to pull them up and read them, they're in the description. So, quote, "I love Hitler leaked messages expose young Republicans racist chat." And this was posted as Politico exposes thousands of racist messages sent by young Republican leaders. A 19-minute read about how William Hendricks, the Kansas Young Republicans vice chair, used the words use two different types of the word variations of a racial slur more than a dozen times in the chat. Bobby Walker, the vice chair of the New York State Young Republicans, at the time referred to rape as epic. Rape is epic, okay. Peter, however you say his last name, who at the time was chair of the same organization, wrote a message sent in June that everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber. I don't know, like, what the point of... Are we just showing... Is this just trying to show people that the right wing has become pretty much infested with fascist, neo-Nazi, white supremacist types? Because I think a lot of us are already pretty in the know on that. That isn't news. I almost feel like this is what neocons or old school Republicans that were against fascism, who are caught in the MAGA cult, where if they realized that MAGA was sort of a fascist movement, this would be the article that they need to read to understand, like, this is what they're posting and shit. Things like Young Republican National Federation, the GOP's 15,000 member political organization for Republicans between 18 and 40 year olds. I'm going to create, quote, "I am going to create some of the greatest psychological torture methods known to man. We only want true believers," he continued. 2 members of the chat responded, "We can fix the showers, gas chambers don't fit the Hitler aesthetic." Joe, I don't know, whatever, who previously identified himself as the general counsel of the New York State Young Republicans. "I am ready to watch people burn now." They're a bunch of Gen Zers. They're all Republican. Well, they're up to 40. That's getting into millennials. The more the political atmosphere is open and liberating, like it has been with the emergence of Trump and more right-wing GOP even before him, it opens up young people and older people to telling racist jokes, making racist commentaries. How is talking about building gas chambers a edgelord kind of joke? I don't think that's a joke. In private and public messages, said Joe Fiengen, in Texas A&M sociology professor who studied racism for the past 60 years. He's also concerned the words would be applied to public policy. It's chilling, of course, because they will act on these views. They already have been. Have you not been seeing the shootings? I mean, we had like what four mass shootings in 24 hours, and they were all done by far right radical extremists. Trump's too busy burning the Epstein files. Who is Alex Drawer, the chair of the Kansas Young Republicans, responding to? And he says Trump's too busy burning the Epstein files. Dreyer declined to comment. Malagno and Hendricks did not return requests for comment. Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, they're comfortable saying this with their faces covered out in the... I'm telling you, on the internet, people say shit that, like, we need to get off the internet and get back to having, like, house parties and shit, because the things that people feel comfortable saying, like, if you're in a house full of, like, diverse people, you know, there's going to be a lot of backup. Like, people are not going to say this shit. For real. They're not going to do it in real life. They won't. And also, being around these marginalized groups also makes it harder to make gross overgeneralizations and stereotypes. Because you being exposed to them, you start realizing the falsehoods behind those gross overgeneralizations and stereotypes. Not to even mention gross overgeneralization. That's a fallacy. Like, you cannot deduce an entire populace of people based on some perceived thing that you think they all have in common on a personality basis. You're automatically incorrect. Automatically. Because all you have to do to disprove it is find one example where it's not the case. But none of this is surprising to me. I mean, if you go into right-wing spaces, yeah, you see a lot of racism, misogyny, homophobia, xenophobia. You see all of it. I mean, it not new. And this one, so this one was presented, what was it? Oh, I didn't do this one. So, Hegseth changes Pentagon's press policy, 5 takeaways. What's he done now? Calling all his 5-star generals fat. Starting on Wednesday, all but one media outlet that regularly covers the Department of Defense is set to lose access to the Pentagon. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth demanded that reporters agree by 5 p.m. Tuesday to a new policy under which they would need to pledge to not obtain or use any unauthorized materials, even if the information is unclassified. Even if it's unclassified. That means it's authorized material. Can we please get these people out of office? Or hand over their press badges in the next 24 hours. Media outlets say this is in violation of the First Amendment rights. It is. And nearly every news outlet has refused to sign. Good. Don't sign it. Or sign it and do it anyway. That's another option. Just sign it and do it anyway. And say, fuck you. The rejections mean that for the first time since the Eisenhower administration, no major U.S. television network or publication will have a permanent presence in the Pentagon. Reporters and editors who have urged defense officials to consider the policy say they will continue to cover the U.S. military with or without access to the building, but the rules mark a new chapter in how journalists will cover the armed forces. Every major television network, wire, publication, and radio outlet has gone on the record in saying their reporters have refused to sign the policy, including ABC News, NBC News, CBS News. That's surprising for CBS. They've been compromised because they've been bought out by some right-wing grift shit company. CNN, the Associated Press, that doesn't surprise me. Associated Press keeps doing the right thing. Reuters keeps doing the right thing. Bloomberg News, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the Guardian, that doesn't surprise me either. The Atlantic, Financial Times, Politico, and NPR, among others. The Hill and its sister network, News Nation, also have declined to sign. And a joint, I wonder who the one that did sign was. In a joint statement issued on Tuesday afternoon, each of the major broadcast networks said it would not sign the policy. Today, we join virtually every other news organization in declining to agree to the Pentagon's new requirements, which would restrict journalists' ability to keep the nation and the world informed of important national security issues, the statement read. The policy is without precedent and threatens core journalistic protections. Several right-leaning news organizations have balked at the policy, including Fox News, Washington Times, and Newsmax, the latter of which has said it believes the requirements are unnecessary and erroneous. Wait a minute. So even Fox and Newsmax are saying this is bullshit. So they didn't even sign this. Even they said "fuck you" to Pete to Pete Hegseth. Really? What is the one news outlet that said, "Okay, we'll sign it"? Hold on a second. Nah, I want to find out who is the one news outlet who did this. The one that agreed to Who do you think it was? I found it. So it looks like it was OWN. One America News Network was the only news outlet that agreed to the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's new media restrictions. One America News Network. So, okay, that's who it was. I'm gonna do some more looking into that. I'm curious about that. That is interesting. I've never looked at that news media organization, so I'm curious about them now. How far right are they? Several right-leaning. Oh yeah, we already read that part. The lone outlet. Now it's going to talk about it. I just found that out. A far-right news and political commentary television channel and website that has frequently given favorable coverage to the administration. Under the new rules, journalists are technically not barred from investigating, reporting, or publishing stories on the U.S. military using information deemed sensitive or unclassified, but they could be deemed a vague security or safety risk. Should they even ask Defense Department personnel for such information according to the rules? The policy stipulates when journalists receive a published unsolicited classified or sensitive information from government sources, they are generally protected in doing so by the First Amendment. But if you solicit the disclosure of such information or otherwise encourage Defense Department personnel to violate laws and policies concerning the disclosure of such information, such conduct may weigh in the consideration of whether or not you pose a security or safety risk. The Pentagon describes soliciting as including calls for tips encouraging military personnel to share non-public information, as many reporters do via their publications or personal social media platforms. They're trying to make whistleblowing illegal. No. I'm glad nobody signed this. No. Whistleblowers are good when it comes to these kind of... Are you saying, like, I would ask a MAGA this. If you're a MAGA supporter, do you want the government to make it so that in all of the government agencies there's no whistleblowers around, so that they could never come forward and say, hey, this agency is screwing over the American people, engaging in waste, fraud, and abuse, or whatever it is? You don't want any whistleblowers. You want the government to keep that hush-hush, quiet, no news organization can report on it? Think about that. That was the main point. That was the main sticking point for reporters. The Pentagon Press Association said in a forceful statement last week, Hegseth and his department are trying to stifle free press with the new policy, which it said conveys an unprecedented message of intimidation to everyone, with the DoD warning against any unapproved interaction with the press and even suggesting it's criminal to speak without express permission, which plainly it is not. This is a massive violation of free speech to silence whistleblowers, so nobody can come out and say, hey, everyone, Pete Hegseth is trying to get the military to swear an oath to Donald Trump and really go for all out for that, militarized police surveillance state and sick the military on U.S. citizens. They're trying to make it so that something like that can never happen. You can't have a whistleblower. You can't go out and say, like, oh, Pete Hegseth is, like, sexually assaulting, like, all the female officers. All like, if you tell a news organization that whistleblower, you can face criminal charges or something like that. I think people should do it anyway. Don't comply in advance. You have the freedom of speech regardless of what the administration says, and they'll hold you accountable for it now. But once it's all over, we'll dig you out. In an op-ed published Tuesday, NPR's Pentagon reporter Tom Bowman said signing the document would make us stenographers parroting press releases, not watchdogs holding government officials accountable. The new rules follow a steady stream of directives out of Hegseth's office that have sought to severely curtail press access and accommodations in the Pentagon since the start of the year. In late January, his office removed 4 outlets from their Defense Department workspaces under a so-called rotation program, replacing them with media outlets including One American News Network and Breitbart News. Very far right news. Well, I am curious about this One American News Network. I've never heard of them. Breitbart, very far right. Whose journalists have been given favorable coverage to the Trump administration. When the Pentagon Press Association sought clarification from the officials as to why the 4 outlets were specifically targeted, officials took away desks from 4 additional news outlets, including The Hill. The journalists removed from their desks were still allowed to work in the building, though Hegseth's office also made it difficult by restricting reporters from accessing the Pentagon's press briefing room, one of the few places in the building where wireless internet to use for filing stories. Then in May, Hegseth restricted journalists from most hallways of the Pentagon without an official escort, an extreme decision as reporters had enjoyed access throughout much of the building for decades without being monitored. Secure or restricted spaces have always been off limits to the press without official permission. Under the new rules, the Pentagon also plans to move all news organizations from their dedicated workspaces, moving the press corps to a still unknown location in the building, likely making it harder for reporters to have access to military personnel. Hegseth also has not briefed Pentagon reporters in nearly 4 months, and Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson has not conducted a briefing in 2 months, all while the U.S. military has conducted legally questionable military strikes in the Caribbean Sea, deployed troops to American cities, and continues to operate across the globe. I'd like to remind people, too, this is vividly on popular stuff. Hegseth, who has frequently displayed animosity towards the press, on Monday mocked media outlets that said they would not sign the policy, posting emojis waving goodbye on social media in response to the posts from New York Times and The Atlantic, which both issued statements blasting the move. He responded in the same manner to the statement from the Washington Post, which said the policy undercuts First Amendment protections by placing unnecessary constraints on gathering and publishing information. And I think Trump is defending the policy, of course he would. President Trump on Tuesday threw his support behind Hegseth's policy, calling the press very dishonest and insisting the rules were necessary, as Hegseth finds the press to be very disruptive in terms of world peace and maybe security for our nation. Yeah. What are the comments? Some countries' governments go to great lengths to control and muzzle the press. Other countries put up with the press even when unfriendly stories are covered. The people in countries with the free press have control of their government. Countries with a controlled press control their people. And they respond, "We've lost control of our government. Doge made that abundantly obvious. Term limits, campaign finance reform, lobbying reform." When a country that has freedom of the press in its very first amendment of its constitution decides they are going to control the narrative of its military without any real oversight, the press being disallowed of that information, is going to have a problem with that. This is not a left or right issue. It's an American issue for people who love the foundations of the Constitution. Paul Revere was a disseminator of information against the laws of the British monarchy. It is absolutely ironic, the very definition of such, that a Fox News personality doesn't want the press to have access to information about what he is doing. Okay. This was another one where how it was posted, it was just Washington Post posted as China has a trump card in its trade battle with the U.S., experts say. And honestly, again, this is a no doubt. This is a really long article. If you didn't know that China can outperform us on the goods that they have available, that they can the trade deals they can work out with other countries, you're living in the past. China has become a behemoth that can compete with the United States on the world on world trades of goods and services, and it seems like a lot of Americans don't want to wake up to that fact. And you think we can get it back by doing what Trump is doing? No, actually, it's sawing our own foot off. China doesn't care. They can make deals and trades with every other country all around the globe, and just every other country can do the same and leave America out of it. There is nothing that America provides that they need from that they can't get somewhere else. Facts. I mean, this shouldn't. Richard Wolff talks a lot about this. I'd recommend that. He knows a lot about BRICS and how they've rise to a global prominence on global trade of goods and services. So this shouldn't be shocking to anyone. That the trade stuff that Trump is doing is actually benefiting China. Their GDP is like plus 5%. Like I mean I don't. Their deficit is like plus 5% or something like that. It's wild. Like they don't have a deficit; they have a surplus. They're doing so economically well. It's mind blowing. What Trump is doing, like he thinks. I think that Trump thinks that what he's doing will hurt China, and the reality is that China just doesn't need it. And now he's demanding China has to buy soybeans from American farmers, and Trump is acting like he can just go all over the world and tell all these other countries and their presidents and dictators and rulers and stuff what to do. And no, it's like you're the president of the United States or king of the United States, whatever the fuck we are now. Apparently not a democracy. Well, a declining democracy. Hopefully we can save it. But no, Trump, they don't care what you think. Hate to tell you. They don't need America. They don't need us. Okay. Future Voting Rights Act hangs in the balance at Supreme Court. And let's see what this is, what this has to say.
Passage in that redistricting bill, we want to take a look at how things have changed following those similar moves we've seen play out in Texas and California. For more on this, let's bring in CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Anthony, always love talking about these kinds of figures. First, can you walk us through what has changed in these states?
Yeah, and I want to start with this, Nancy, because it's kind of the big picture. In our latest poll, we asked people, what do you think ought to be done about congressional districts? And the bulk.
I don't really care about your polls. More than decades after the Supreme Court gutted a key provision of the Voting Rights Act. And we've been seeing this across the country where there's like tons of voter suppression laws, like women who have had their names changed, could affect a lot of trans people and gay couples who have had their names changed from marriage. That could affect them. The amount of stuff that you have to do as well, especially if you've had multiple marriages, you would not believe what you would have to do. You should look that up. You need not a copy of your marriage certificate. You need an actual official certificate with a 3D stamp. And if you've been married multiple times, you need to get those marriage licenses. You need to get your birth certificate. You need to get a real ID, and it wouldn't help to also have a passport. Also, you can fucking vote. So, court gutted a key provision of the Voting Rights Act, and just 2 years after it declined to unveil another piece of the law, Supreme Court will convene on Wednesday to hear a legal battle over Louisiana's congressional map that could reverberate throughout the nation. There's something irritating where I live is that they're trying to do this shit, and we're a big blue dot in a sea of red, and they're trying to make it so that these blue voters, more Democrat, neoliberal to left-wing voters, are being represented by a fucking Republican. And it's why are you doing that? We don't want to be represented. I don't want to be represented by a fucking Republican. If I wanted to be represented by a fucking Republican, I would have voted for a Republican. I've never voted for a Republican in my entire life. So I don't want to be represented by a fucking Republican. And I don't think this big blue dot that's in a sea of red, why do we need to do this? If you wanted last cowboy standing, I hate how stupid everything is becoming. Look at this, last cowboy standing, Fox Nation, masculinity, tradition, remember the fucking 80s, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I remember the fucking 80s, and I'm tired of rehashing the fucking 80s. Can we get some new shit up in this? I mean, can we do new, creative, innovative things? Do we have to keep repeating things from your fucking nostalgia because you're insecure or whatever? Anyway, yeah, so they're trying to redistrict and get rid of the one and only Democrat representative that represents Democrat voting people. And have them represented by a Republican, which they do not want to be represented by. The consolidation case known as Louisiana versus Callis and Robinson versus Callius could weaken Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which has been used to ensure minority voters have the opportunity to elect their preferred candidates. The legal fight has been before the justices before. In its last term, the Supreme Court weighed whether to leave in place Louisiana's House map that was redrawn in 2024 to include a second majority black district. But the High Court declined to issue a ruling then, and instead set it for re-argument in its new term, which started last week. The Supreme Court said in August that it would be considering whether state lawmakers' intentional drawing of a second majority minority district done to address a violation of the Voting Rights Act runs afoul of the 14th and 15th Amendment of the Constitution. The new question raises the stakes of the case as Republicans in Louisiana are urging the High Court to prohibit the consideration of race in the drawing of voting lines. A decision in the state's favor could upend Section 2 and deliver another blow to the landmark civil rights law. Section 2 has had major impact, definitely in the South, but really nationwide, on improving political representation opportunities for voters in a lot of different communities of color and all around the county, said Kareem, Vice President. Okay, I don't need to read all these titles. And decision that leaves the current understanding of Section 2 in grave doubt, opens up, unfortunately, a lot of chaos throughout the country in a lot of different jurisdictions. Arguments before the High Court will play out as GOP lawmakers in several states have engaged in politically motivated efforts to recraft their district lines to help Republicans hold onto their majority in the House. The dispute involving Louisiana's map centers on the use of race in the map-making process, though if the state prevails, it would likely lead to challenges of existing maps that govern voting boundaries for not just Congress, but also local school boards, city councils, and state legislators. God damn it. They're making a mess of things. That's fantastic. This is a gut check for the court. Does it want to sign off on another era where we just retreat from the commitment that was made that we are going to assure we don't live in a country where we subjugate people based on race, particularly in the political space? The protracted dispute over Louisiana's congressional map dates back to 2022, when Republican state lawmakers crafted new House district boundaries to adjust population changes after the 2020 census. The original map comprised five. This makes me think that there is actually a decent argument of just getting rid of the electoral college and just do direct democracy. I mean, because it just seems like, people don't want to act right. They want to be funky and cheat and do all kinds of stuff. And then this is a weird thing to say, but it's saying Recession signs watch for goodbye lipstick, hello Hamburger Helper. That was not posted this way. It was well, I didn't put it that way. It's saying Hamburger Helper could be a sign of recession. So I'm like, okay. No, Coachella's lineup dropping months earlier than its usual release isn't usually an indicator of an impending recession, but an absence of official government data social media users are casting about for hints. Even, okay, why are we talking about musical festivals? For years, the best-known recession indicators has been the lipstick index, which posits that Americans stock up on cheaper feel-good makeup when times are tough, that one might be outdated or at least different now, partially because the popularity of skincare spending and changing consumer habits. Here are some economic warning signs experts say to watch out for. Cardboard box production. Okay. Hamburger Helper is back. Hamburger Helper sales have bumped up significantly this year, according to parent company Eagle Foods. As people seek out deals on groceries for decades, people have turned to the packaged pasta and seasoning meals when times are tight, or as social media users have been embracing this year, struggle meals. Yeah, let me know when ramen noodle sales are up through the roof. Sales of big trucks are slumping. That's not a bad thing. I don't know why you need a big gas guzzling truck in the middle of suburbia. Out in the country, it makes sense. Thrifting is in. Yeah, well, that's no more job hopping. Right now, to my understanding, our job market is in the toilet. Like, people who are unemployed, there's a lot of unemployed. A lot of places have closed down. Mom and pop brick and mortar and even corporate stores. Millions of people laid off, and there are more people looking for jobs than jobs are available. Home equity loans up, residential building permits down. So, yeah. This was not very informative. This was just like a junk article. Really. Okay. Far-right U.S. influencer Candace Owens loses legal fight to enter Australia. I don't know why Candace Owens was trying to go to Australia, but apparently she was trying to go to Australia. Oh, and the Prime Minister's wife of France is suing Candace Owens because she kept claiming that she was trans. And she is willing to show her pooch pocket to prove that, and look at her chromosomes to prove that she is a biological woman, and plans to sue the shit out of Candace Owens, which I find absolutely hilarious. And I think she should. I think she should sue Candace Owens. I think these people who keep making this hateful rhetorical shit all over the internet, I think they've gotten really, really comfortable at doing that. And I think that very wealthy, powerful people should come forward and start suing the shit out of them and make them not so comfortable anymore. Because they just keep saying the most heinous shit with no fucking evidence at all. Sydney Reuters. Far-right U.S. influencer Candace Owens has lost her bid to enter Australia after the country's highest court on Wednesday backed the government's decision to deny her a visa over concerns she could incite discord. Oh, she will definitely do that. She doesn't even have to enter your country to do that. People in your country just have to go to her fucking YouTube channel and watch her shit, and then, she'll report a bunch of fake news and get them brainwashed, hyped up on conspiracy theories, and very, very, very far-right anti-Semitic stuff. So, yeah. Owens, who has built a large online following for her controversial conservative views, applied for a visa to undertake a speaking tour in November of 2024. Her application was rejected in October of 2024 by Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke, citing her record for downplaying the Holocaust and Islamophobic comments. Exactly. Brooke has powers to deny non-citizens entry based on character requirements under the Migration Act. Can I come to Australia? I want to move to Australia. I don't want to live here anymore. I want to go to Australia. This is not the most leftist country that I would want to go to, but I would be willing. Australia sounds good. Owens appealed to the High Court on the grounds that the power burdened the freedom of political communication, an implied right. Unlike the U.S., Australia does not have an express constitutional right to free speech. The High Court on Wednesday sided with Brooke and ordered Owens to pay the government's legal costs. The court said the Migration Act provisions imposed a burden on political communication but served a legitimate and justifiable purpose in protecting the Australian community from visitors who would stir up or encourage dissension or strife on political matters. The implied freedom is not a personal right, it's not unlimited, and it's not absolute, said High Court Judges Stephen Gagler, Michelle Gordon, and Robert Beach Jones in a joint judgment. The judges noted Brooke denied Owens visa after examining her views and comments on areas including Holocaust denial, Islamophobia, anti-racism, Black Lives Matter, and anti-Semitism, women's and LGBTQIA plus rights, and COVID-19 and anti-vaccination conspiracy theories. Oh, Candace Owens, and you're going to get sued. You just need to shut your mouth. But she won't do it. She's going to keep doing it, and she's going to get sued, and she's getting blacklisted from countries. This is fantastic. I love this. Brooke found her views to be extremist, inflammatory comments towards Muslim, Black, Jewish, and LGBTQIA plus communities, which generate controversy and hatred. Yes, they do. Concluding that meant she failed the character test required for a visa, that allowing her into the country would not be in the national interest. Miss Owens' farmers' submissions should be emphatically rejected, said High Court Judge James Edelman in a separate judgment. In July, Australia also canceled the visa of U.S. rapper Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, over concerns he promoted Nazi ideologies in his song Hail Hitler. You think a song called Hail Hitler promotes Nazi ideology? Just maybe a little bit. So, and if people tried to flip the script on me, if like some far right country was like, you can't come here because you're leftist ideologies, that's fine. I don't know that I want to go to a far right country that would, they typically want to kill people like me. So that's fine. And they're saying we don't want you in here because we don't want people like you that want to kill people like me. We don't want to encourage that shit. Okay, hold on. I want to understand more about this One America News Network. Let's see what they're like. Let's see.
Who reveals how he broke into the shadowy world of CIA hacking.
You become a CIA hacker by being at the right time, at the right place, and asking questions.
Plus, Cole warns that your phone may be listening to you without your consent. All that and more. Join me, John Hines, for an all-new After Hours this Saturday and Sunday, 7 and 11 p.m. Eastern.
Oops.
To all of the great viewers and people of OAN, you've been my friend and I've been your friend for a long time. These are brave people that are doing this. I want to just congratulate them.
They're brave people doing this, brave people. They're so brave. I want to tell you how brave they are. They're brave. They're brave. They're brave, you guys. They're really brave. They're so brave. They're brave that they're so brave, and they're brave. I just wanted you to know that they're brave. They've been doing this. They're brave. God. This was 8 hours ago.
A
What's
man
this
pleads guilty to
shit?
the attempted murder of Pennsylvania's Governor Josh Shapiro. One America's Taylor Tinsley has those details.
A man who tried to set Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's mansion on fire, as he, along with members of his family and guests, slept, is sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison. 38-year-old Cody Bomber pleaded guilty to terrorism, attempted murder, aggravated arson, 22 counts of arson for each of the victims within the residence, burglary, and other related offenses on Tuesday. In the early morning hours of April 13, 2025, Bomber climbed the security fence at the governor's mansion in Harrisburg with 2 Molotov cocktails, handheld incendiary weapons with gasoline, and a sledgehammer in hand. Surveillance footage captures Bomber breaking a glass window and tossing a Molotov cocktail inside. He then moves to another window to break in. After making it into the mansion, Bomber is seen trying to break through a pair of double doors, leading to Shapiro's family and guests. He couldn't get through, and moved to the dining area where he set off a second Molotov cocktail and fled, leaving Shapiro, his wife, their 3 children, 15 overnight guests, and 2 Pennsylvania state troopers inside. Bomber
It's your go-to source for unfiltered news, sharp debate, and 5 hard-hitting political talk shows, including my show, Real America with Dan Ball. You can watch live anytime, anywhere. No noise, no nonsense, just real reporting and bold conversations that matter to you and your family. You can sign up for OAN Live now to see the truth unfold, and you can catch Real America every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just go to live.onn.com. Again, that's live.onn.com and sign up.
Real American. Real American. Real American. I don't want to mess up my algorithm too much there. So I'm gonna start wrapping this up. Not many views this time. Sometimes the views come later. Okay. So the intro song that was used, that was by Beatific Smile, Insane Jamie. I'm guessing the name of the song. I had to just kind of guess the song because this album, it's real underground, it's local, and how I got a hold of it, the track lists, actually it came from a cassette tape or a record. The list of the song was never given to me with it, but for the outro, I will play a song called Mr. Self-Righteous Motherfucker. Okay. And yeah, I can play it. There's no copyright on this stuff. So like, share, subscribe, comment, and hit Bill Bud and all that sort of stuff, and then that out. I'm out. You guys have a good day, good night, good morning, whatever it is for you. I'm out. Like, share, subscribe, bell button and stuff.
What